What up, Daily Gang? Daily come out here. I hope you guys are having a great day. Today, we're going to talk about the ban list, how it turned out, and how it's been affecting tournaments for the past week, since we've got about a week of tournaments under our belt, and we are awaiting the new box tomorrow. So I'm going to talk about like maybe a little bit of what I feel may be able to slip in at the end, but we'll keep it how these ban list decks are affected for the most part. So let's get into it. World Legacy Secret, the first card limited for Mech Knights. It's still the only limit one, and it seems like Konami was hell bent on putting the rest of the deck at 3 to make you choose between these cards. Now I just put Ibli there because it's, you know, a part of the strategy, a part of the Mech Knight, you know, column strategy that the deck really used to take advantage of, although it kind of fell out of popularity. But now that Purple Nightfall is at 3 with World Legacy Memory and Blue Sky, I think this deck is officially dead as a solo deck, and it's going to be moved over to kind of an engine. Since the ban list has been announced, we've only really seen this deck played, or I should say Mech Knights played, as a support engine for Resonators and Crusadia. I haven't seen any pure Mech Knights. I think I've seen a couple, but they're really using just World Legacy Key, and they are making do with a lot less resources than they were before. And I think this is a insanely good change. I think Mech Knights had their time in the meta. They were a very good solo deck, and then becoming one of the best partner engines in Duel Links was really good. And I think from now on, let it be an engine. See how the decks that perform with Mech Knights as an engine do work. You got to take into account any deck that uses Mech Knights as an engine cannot use limit 3 trap cards. So for a lot of decks like Resonator, just like thinning out your deck, that is pretty good over the limit 3 trap cards. But some other decks are a little more straightforward. Maybe they're not going to want to use Mech Knights as an engine. They could use those traps better. But Mech Knights, they're dead. They're an engine. Let me know how you feel about it. Next, Solomon Great. So I kind of put Solomon Great and Code Talkers together. That's why Crosswipe is there. So I figured we could talk about them both at the same time. And I think Solomon Great is one of the big winners from this ban list. Lady Debug is going to go to 3. Hold on, I'm missing a card from here, right? All right, I thought I was missing a card, but I did remember that Banlist is off the ban list now. So Circle and Lady Debug to 3. I was talking with some people on stream, and they were saying how this is a very good change because you can run 2 Circle now, 1 Lady Debug and 1 Lady Debug. The reason why you want to have access to that is so you can have a Cyberse and then search the mirror. You have 2 monsters, as where Circle, you know, it's going to be a search for a Solomon Great monster. But if you're in the situation where you already have many Solomon Great monsters, but you need a better way to get initial extenders on the board without having to do a Solomon Great combo, then Lady Debug is there for that. And now that it is no longer limited and sharing the spot with Banlist, it can now be at 3 and be a lot more versatile. And it's probably going to be seen at 1 in most, if not all, Solomon Great lists. A lot that I've seen are still running 1. But another big thing that Solomon Greats are making big use of is the Gizmech Kaku that, you know, is just terrorizing any other decks that use the extra monster zone. So Solomon Greats got off pretty good here. The pure build is a lot better now. Not much has changed. It is still extremely consistent, and some of its combos at forcing out back row and, you know, forcing your opponent to use their removal on your early link monsters so that you cannot get to your really fearsome link 3s, which are actually pretty good in this meta now that a lot of the threats are nerfed. You know, I think that the deck is pretty versatile at removing a lot of the largest threats that we you know, come to face in the meta right now. But as for the Code Talker build, that's something that I'd have to see. Of course, Crosswipe going to 1 means that, you know, you cannot play that card anymore, because if you're playing Solomon Greats, you're going to be playing Code Talker Solomon Great. You're going to be playing Gazelle as a part of your Solomon Great engine. That's going to be, you know, part of what makes your deck combo so easily. So Crosswipe, I feel like in most cases is going to be dropped from Solomon Great Code Talker lists, but they do have the Signet Backdoor, which is a really good quick play spell for Cyberse as well, just allowing you to dodge a targeting effect, or, you know, stop yourself from being negated or whatever, and then you search your Cyberse, which is extremely powerful since, you know, Solomon Great and Code Talkers are both Cyberse. So I think that Solomon Great and Code Talkers from this past meta, these are probably the only 2 decks that are getting stronger after this ban list, despite them also just having some cards shifted around. So definitely, if you watched my Salamangreat free-to-play video back then and you built Salamangreats, you are doing really good right now, because the deck is really nearing the same amount of performance that it was seeing around the time, the beginning of Reigns Worlds. Definitely, if you've got Salamangreats, whip them out, because they're going to be really good in the new meta. All right, next over to my favorite. So glad they got nerfed. We've got Infernoid. So we've got Vanishment that was at 2, and Feast is now at 2 as well. And I have not seen a better Banlist nerf from Konami in some years. This is amazing. You guys know I am no fan of Infernoids, and I have not been since I've started playing in the main phase tournaments, and I have been sacked multiple times by Infernoids. So this is really, really nice. The deck, for me, honestly, it was just way too sacky. The fact that you can open 4 cards, have 3 Feast, 3 Vanishment, 3 Seer in your hand. You have 6. Well, before this ban list, you had 5 ways to get to Feast, right? To get 3 monsters on your field in the first turn, including Decatron, which is going to set up the engine for the rest of your deck. You had 5 ways to do that in your opening hand, and then opening Decatron as well. So I think this was just way too insanely consistent. It was basically free. All you have to do is open Vanishment, and you have the entire combo. So I definitely did not like this deck at all, and I'm glad that, you know, hopefully people do not play it anymore. I hope that it remains nerfed. All I really have to say on Infernoids, I don't like the deck. Ripperoni to you if you bought it, you know, thinking that it was very, very cheap, because it was. But to be honest, the deck is just, it's not doing it for me. I've seen other strategies with people playing stuff like 1 for 1 and now taking advantage of the limit 3 traps, because, you know, this is something that the deck is going to have to rely on a lot more now that they do not have the extreme consistency that they once had. There was a huge buff for them. Now they just got to make it. So they're crutching on, you know, Crackdowns and Ice Dragon's Prison. I've also seen Fiend Griefing pop up as a tech for them. And that's not bad. Target opponent in opponent's graveyard, shuffle into the deck, and then you can send a Fiend from your deck to the graveyard. That's a little slow, but honestly now, you have, like, such less access to multiple monsters on the field and getting their effects. Obviously, now, since you basically only have 2 copies of Void Feast in your deck, since Void Vanishment essentially will get you Void Feast, so you can kind of look at it as a second copy. That's kind of all the deck has going for it, so I'm very glad. This deck will, you know, it'll be summoning monsters one at a time more frequently, and only be able to activate this ridiculous effect when they do open this 2-of in their deck, which it was insanely easy for them to get beforehand. So very, very good nerf on Infernoids. And that's it about the current meta that I wanted to talk about. Some other things that were like honorable mentions that I won't waste like putting stuff on screen. Soulful Chords. I was kind of looking at Soulful Chords, and I do think they have a lot of potential. However, you know, if a deck like Soulful Chords were to really pop off, then we'd see things like Cosmic Cyclone, MSTs really start popping off again. There hasn't been very good pendulum decks that, you know, are interrupted like that. DDD is also always a very good pendulum deck, but I feel like Soulful Chords folds much more easily to MST and Cosmic Cyclone. I feel like those decks can survive way better just activate from the hand. Fuse, they do a whole lot more than just pendulum summoning. Soulful Chords, they were one of my top decks for moving into the top of the meta, but I saw people countering them really hard this week in tournaments. Just straight up MST just kills the deck. You not being allowed to resolve your initial monster effects on the field, going second, is not good for this deck a lot of the time, simply because, you know, if it does become a problem, back row removal is just going to stop it. But the decks from the new box do interest me a lot. Orcusts and some of the Cosmo support we're going to be getting from Quentin. Look, man, there's going to be a lot of new decks. S-Force, new support for Galaxy. There's a lot of new stuff coming in the new box. I think it's really going to shake up things, and this is probably one of the best ban lists that we've gotten before a very jam-packed box in a while. You know, just to think, Meknet, the most dominant engine, right? The most dominant deck and engine, eliminated as a deck basically and relegated to an engine for very weak decks that can't compete with the meta. No strong deck right now is really using Meknets except Resonators, and they are doing so at the cost of limit 3 traps. So think about that. Solomon Rates doing amazing right now, and Code Talkers are also doing well by extension. They're going to be at the top of the meta, so these are some of the things that the new box decks are going to have to compete with the most. Solomon Greats and Infernoids, good riddance. See you later. So guys, let me know what you thought about the ban list and what your hopes are for how it affects the new meta that's about to start tomorrow with the release of Solar Flare, what you call it, the new box. I forget the name, but let me know what you think, and I'll see you tomorrow with a new box drop. Peace out, guys. Talk to you then.